Welcome back to East Coast DNA, continuing on with our Road to Music PEI series. And today's guest is one of the top contenders for awards this year with six nominations. Thanks for joining us today, Lawrence Maxwell.
Thanks for having me on.
So may as well hit those right off the bat because, as I mentioned to you, I need a reference to keep track of that many awards. So you're up for a Songwriter of the Year, and you're also up for Single of the Year and Contemporary Roots Recording, Pop Recording, Music Video, and Entertainer, which I believe I didn't go back and look, but I know I knew your name originally from covering East Coast music, and you do get nominated. So you had a few nominations in the past. I believe you won Entertainer of the Year last year, didn't you?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, well, congratulations since we didn't meet before now,
Thank you.
and congratulations on all the nominations. So, you're very familiar with the process. I'm sure that you're very excited for the full music week coming up.
Yeah, the music week is always great just to have everyone together, as many artists that can get together at the same time. It's often hard to find a weekend where a lot of
Yeah.
singers and musicians can come together, so it's great to be able to have that time with everybody on PEI. It's such a great like tight-knit community. That being said, we don't get to see each other as much as I would like, and probably some of the others would like too. So it's great for everybody.
I'm excited myself because I've been following so many of you over there the last few years that I don't get that many opportunities to meet you all in person. So it's very exciting for me to get over there. And on that note, kind of just a couple little quick shout outs I noticed while I was researching you, and some of it being knowledge I already had on you. Uh, Stuart McLean worked on your video that is up for nomination. I've worked side by side with him photography a little bit in the past. So uh, hello, and congratulations
Sure.
to the entire team. Deserves a congratulations on the video.
Yeah, no,
Um,
that's great.
and speaking of music videos, way back, and I hate to say that because it's only been a couple years, but it is way back now. Um, you had an earlier music video that featured Mallory Parsons acting with you. She was walking on the beach, and there's a whole cool vibe there. I actually worked on a music video with her. We were both extras in
Oh, cool.
another video after you had recorded that. So shout out to Mallory if she happens to be watching this. She moved out of my region the last I heard, so haven't run into her in a while. But I know she has her own little musical career going on too. So
Definitely. Yeah, yeah. That's
few
that's great. No,
few little
cool.
shout outs to your community. It's definitely overlapped mine over the last couple of years. So I am wondering, when I did go in to start doing a little bit of a deeper dive into you, like your bio and EBK, uh, they read a lot more like what I read from people that are outside of the East Coast. And the reason I say that is because we all do it, and I'm bad for leaning into it with my podcast interviews as well. The Where You From? And so even though you're very celebrated as a Prince Edward Island musician and artist, your bio doesn't necessarily like force that down your throat at the beginning. And when I'm looking at your catalog, I know that you have the song about going back to Cape Breton. So I was like, wait a minute, is he actually from the island? But that's just musical inspiration and the fact that it is a great place to go visit.
Well, absolutely. The Back to Cape Breton in particular, that is a song. I've been to Cape Breton numerous times over the years. The first time I think I was 5 years old with my family,
Yeah.
and it's just another great vacation destination for someone from the East Coast. We have PEI, it's such a great tourism hub, but if we want a chance to get away and not have to go too far, like Cape Breton is such a great option for us that many camping trips with friends and guitars around the fire and swimming in the ocean and being surrounded by poison ivy at our campsite and just
Yeah.
so many different stories and whatnot that has come from all that I just wanted to kind of distill a lot of the feelings of, being around all the beautiful mountains and the waters and spending time with friends and just having a bit of a silly time and so that's very much what that song was about. But I guess in terms of what you said about the bio and PEI, I kind of never really felt like any place was home growing up. We had moved around probably 12 times by the time I got to high school, and it was
Hmm.
just very normal to kind of move around. And until I got to high school, I had just been on PEI, but then I joined the Navy and was kind of moving around the country a little bit.
Ah.
Kind of had a chance to see some of the country and some of the world from there. And I think I don't necessarily lean on the fact that I'm from PEI in my bio because I think coming back to Prince Edward Island a few years ago for me was kind of just a way to reestablish my relationship with this place and all the beauty that I kind of overlooked growing up and rediscovering that through moving away and then landing back here and realizing that there was a lot of love here and there's a lot of positive things all along, but it just took some travels and some journeys, solo journeys sometimes, and meeting new people and making new connections, and then coming back to really make sense of that all for me.
Now, myself, where I'm not a musician, like I'm not actually out there writing songs and everything, there's some things that maybe some nuances that go into the craft that maybe I don't have a full appreciation for. But as a fan and a listener and a journalist that covers this area, things that pop up over time or things like that that I notice, like if you, it kind of presents you more as being part of an international stage, just not intentionally. It's like a subliminal thing. But I'm also wondering, as far as the style that you play, there's definitely influences that you can see in there, like that go back to like Cape Breton is really what we think of when we think of East Coast music. Even the people that live on the East Coast that know that's not all we have here,
Mhm.
and people like yourself that are not just playing, like you're not playing Cape Breton fiddler music. So we still have that kind of ingrained in us. But I know that different sounds in the region, usually when I start digging in and talking to people, there is some element of some world travel or other life experience that informs the music a little bit and gives it that different sound. Now, with yourself, have bounced around on genre so many times that I'm feeling like I have to remove the complete lexicon from my vocabulary. But you even have on your Instagram profile about it's say it's folk and sing it like it's country.
Yeah,
So
yeah, pretty much
that
tell it like it's folk and sing it like it's country. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's a good explanation of your sound, kind of right there. It boils it down. Where are your inspirations coming from? Like I do see a few big names when I go through and see what you've done already and what you kind of aspire to do. But in your own words, what were your inspirations into the Lawrence Maxwell sound? Because you obviously have something that's a little unique for the region, or you wouldn't be sticking out as much with nominations repeatedly.
Yeah, I think there's been many different types of influences. The earliest ones I can think of were my dad being a DJ growing up. He did many weddings, and we had just crates of cassettes and then CDs. And he was the first person I knew who ever knew how to burn a CD and to make like mixtapes and put songs together. So I always loved the idea of curating music for any particular event or experience.
Hmm.
A lot of country influences growing up. My grandmother was really big into George Jones and Alan Jackson, so if we were driving with her, that's pretty much what you're going to get on
Hmm.
repeat. Um, from there, I kind of went into a bit of a classic rock phase, just some of the friends that I met in junior high and stuff, and got into Led Zeppelin and Guns N' Roses and Queen and went through that journey, and then kind of went into a bit of a hip hop uh, experience in high school. But then I was always singing country, and I didn't necessarily know why I was doing it, but it just seemed like every time I tried to sing, that's what came out. And
Hmm.
I think I started to appreciate some of those earlier influences and um, I didn't really have the courage to sing in front of too many people until I left PEI though, and I was in British Columbia doing some training with the Navy, and there was a bar just within walking distance from the base that we could go to. It's since burned down, but it was a great spot. They had military Mondays, so you show your ID, you get a free pint of beer. Thursdays was karaoke, so I would sign up Conway Twitty and Johnny Cash, and it got to the point I just kept going every week. And the lady who hosted it, she'd already have my name signed up before I got there, songs that
Oh,
she
amazing.
could sing and stuff. And I was like, okay, I could try your request. And she wanted me to sing Toby Keith and this and that. So I really started to look at some other country eras, and that kind of led me down to the Merle Haggard era of the 60s and the 70s. Um, and I really took a deep dive into his stuff, and to the point where I put a whole show together paying tribute to him and with music, but also going into some of the stories of his life and getting to share that on stages now across the Maritimes for the last couple of years has been a lot of fun too.
And so for your last year's nominations, you had a full album that you were kind of pulling from that was starting to get towards the end of the period where you could have something like that nominated. So coming out of that and having some success, you released a new single, which is available out there for everyone to hear now. So that's Pouring My Heart Out.
Yeah, pouring out my heart. Yeah,
Pouring Out My Heart.
yeah,
And now from that, the next follow up was the one that we'll talk about in a second with Brooke. But like, is this a new thing where you're going to do singles for a while, or is there another album coming? It's been 2 years, really.
yeah. No, I know. I was kind of on a schedule before that of every couple years releasing an album. The
Hmm.
last three albums have been in the 2 year cycle, and I just I kind of wanted to just take a bit more time with my process and not rush into things. I felt like I've kind of gotten to a point where I've been dialing in my sound a bit more to what I want it to be, and
Yeah,
part of that process is gaining a bit of patience. And also just waiting for the full collection of what I have to say and make sure that it's accurately representative of who I am right now. And so the singles are kind of just ways of getting little glimpses of those little moments of my life, and allowing that kind of greater collective theme or whatever it is to kind of make itself known to me through that process. And so I've just kind of been, you know, not I've been never really too focused on what the most popular method is.
sure.
I
Yeah.
love albums and I've always wanted to record albums. And so, for 6 years, I've released three of them, and it's been a great process. I've always learned something new with each one. But yeah, for the last little while, I just kind of wanted to really take stock of the songs that I had been writing and being a bit more selective and
Hmm.
allowing that process to kind of let me know where it wants to go in terms of what the album is going to look like. So it's not going to be much longer, but it's going to be a little bit longer than I've been used to.
Yeah, fair. And I'd love to hear that answer. As a fan of music, I want immediate gratification just as much as anyone in 2025. But I do appreciate that if it's not there yet, it's not there yet. And if it didn't happen yet, it didn't happen yet. Sometimes you just gotta let the feelings kind of drive the car and right until you get that album completed. But the single strategy too is also very, it's pretty much what everyone does now. Like I don't often, even with these awards, I've noticed the last few years, like when you have like recording of the year, traditionally that was your album
Yeah,
and now it's your single.
yeah,
So I mean that's even been a shift as far as the industry and how they digest that type of thing. And I do like see a little bit of a evolution even over the 2 years, like with the way your songs are going. Now it's a smaller piece of music to listen to where you only have two more songs since then. But let's get right into that since these nominations, like half almost, a couple. also feature Brooke. So
Yeah.
we should probably give her a shout out. And I don't know much about her, so maybe you could tell us about who Brooke is and how it came about that you were releasing a song as a collaboration.
Totally, yeah. So Brooke and I met for the first time at a Canada Day event, I believe it was. We were kind of performing back to back. She was first, and then I was performing after her. And I noticed that she had stuck around to listen to a few songs, and kind of had the first chance to connect there. And then a few years later, just we got a chance to do a few shows together, and then there became this big country production that was being put on by Craig Fair here on PEI last
Uh,
summer, called Country Roads, and it was music of the 90s and early 2000s country and stuff that I always loved, but I never really would sing a whole lot of that era as much as I loved it. So when the opportunity came up to be a part of that show, Brooke was also invited to sing in that. So we got a chance to get to know each other's musical styles a bit better. And I had this song that I had been working on kind of before we started rehearsals for the show. And I just knew that she would be a great person to reach out to for this because I had written it as a duet with another perspective in mind. Um, so to hear a different voice, a different perspective of the same song, it's the second time that I've written a song with that in mind, and the first time I really enjoyed the process. I had a song called Whiskey Songs that I put out,
mhm.
which it was a similar process in terms of writing it, and I really just I love the idea of, whether it's a relationship or it's some topic that you're focusing on, to have kind of like the story run right down the middle, but to have two different perspectives, singing or speaking, telling their story about that particular experience. So Um, no, I just asked her to be a part of it. We went into the studio and she just right away, I knew it just was feeling like it was just the right pick for that song. And uh yeah, it's been uh pretty cool to see the people's reaction to it. Obviously now the industry recognition on PEI for that is great. Um and some of the radio opportunities that have come along with it on Sirius XM and some stations across the country. It's been probably my most successful single in terms of all of that to date. So yeah, couldn't have done it without her.
I love to hear it. And I do think that that's a positive sign for the industry too, because outside of yourself, I can think of, I'm not going to try to think of a long list, but I can think of a couple right off the top of my head that their more recent work does seem to be getting more traction than their previous work. And it's no knock on anybody's previous work. It's just the work's getting better and it's getting more recognition, which is great for everybody because the algorithm knows we all live right beside each other too.
Yeah,
So if one of us does well, then we'll all do well. So
absolutely.
that's great to see. Now, is there plans then since you've had success to either A kind of pursue doing more with Brooke, or has there been a new appetite to maybe collaborate with others? I do also know that that can get once you start getting that way, you can be like, oh, I want to collaborate with, and then you have like 20 new ideas.
Yeah, I think I definitely think collaboration is something that we're very modest on PEI in terms of people don't want to reach out, I think, for help or
Yeah.
whatever it is. And it's like there's so many opportunities, I think, for artists to reach out to one another, to collaborate. And I just kind of wanted to put it out there to her because someone had reached out to me one time before to do a
Yeah.
co-writing session. I never thought that was possible. I was like, what do you mean we get together, we write a song? Like I didn't know that people did that.
Yeah.
Um, but I always knew that there's duets and great things, but so it's kind of always been this thing that I think we have a lot of opportunities for some great collaborations with the artists here on PEI. And certainly I've worked with, some other artists in the songwriting front. And now in the collaboration with recording, it's something that I want to keep exploring, and it's something that I do think you're right. Like you can get caught up in wanting to work with everybody, but I think, in your heart, you kind of know who might be a good fit for a
Yeah.
certain, and you just got to trust that instinct and go with it.
Now, similarly with collaborations, music videos, I always like to point out when somebody takes the effort to put in a music video, because as I've expressed on this podcast, that in most cases that is a cost. It's never going to really, it's a good calling card. So I guess indirectly it brings back in money because it's an advertising thing for you. But you could do a lot of things just to get that out there. So to actually put effort into having a narrative or having any amount of effort that you need to do to set up shots is always very commendable. And typically that also means that unless you were fortunate enough to get some really good grant writing in, you probably have to lean a lot on friends and your community as well. So I'm curious for this video, since it's also one of the nominations. What was the process like for putting that shoot together? And was it like a day shoot thing, or is this something that took place over time? Because I know that you're filming outdoors, so typically that means like you got to get it all now and then edit it later.
Yeah, it was a 2-day shoot for that. So we did the baseball scene on one day, and then we did the carnival scene on another day. But we were kind of limited in terms of the time that we had on those days because
Hmm.
obviously the sun will set and we could only rent the field for the one day. And luckily enough, the exhibition, the Campbell Amusements and the PEI exhibition actually gave us permission to go in and film. They basically just said have at her. So
Great.
it was really a big help for that, for the locations. But it had been something that I had been planning to do for a while actually, because I had this idea in mind for a video, kind of even as the song was being created. I had met up with the director of the video, Jessie Duarte, and she's a friend of mine, and she hadn't actually directed a music video before, but she had been involved in some theater productions that uh, I had worked with her on, and she had been assistant director on some things. And uh, I said, you know what, I have this idea. I'd love for you to direct this. I think you do a great job of it. So we came up with an idea, the storyboard, and we actually had applied for one grant that we didn't get. So we kind of sat on it. And, in the past, I've put out videos where I've kind of just funded it myself, or I've
Hmm.
fundraised without getting grants and whatever. But this time I was like in a position where I was saying, like, well, we'll try maybe for another round of funding. And if we don't get it, we'll just scrap this idea and come up with something else for the next time, kind of thing. Lucky enough, when the music PEI funding rolled around for the next cycle, we picked up a grant that we were able to use to put the video together, and
Great.
did have a lot of help with family and friends donating their time to be part of the baseball crew and um, the scene at the carnival. It's all friends and family, and then Brooke and myself. So it's cool to watch the video and to see, like, including my fiance's in there as the coach off the top. She's wearing a mustache and she's getting
Yeah.
us all fired up. And so, it's a lot of people that I love in that video. And to be able to have them all kind of together for that was pretty cool.
So I'm glad that you brought it up. It was kind of a throwaway question I had here off to the side, and I didn't want to chew up time with it, but you mentioned it. So the mustache that she has on there,
Yeah.
is that a mockery of your very prominent mustache? Is that kind of was she poking a little fun at you?
I think probably in some ways it is, but also her and her friend Claire. So Claire was the other coach, and they kind of do this funny thing where it's this like drag persona of Al and
Oh,
Jack, but it's like Al and Jack and
yeah,
Jack
yeah,
Sean. So it's kind of like their duo for that. So I was like, it'd be funny if you guys did that in the video.
yeah.
And
I like that.
yeah.
That's a funny little backstory. So, and it also I wanted to mention too that with the mustache, that following your accounts, like going back a few years too, I think that maybe you having that look coming back from being with the Navy, that you brought that look to the East Coast again. Because it's like everyone in their 20s and 30s has a mustache now. And I think you were the first one. If you go back, if anyone wants to go back and Google it, you prove me wrong. We'll just leave it there as a fact, and it's
But
out there if somebody wants to challenge it.
you might be right. I don't think I've shaved in over 10 years, so
Yeah,
it might be something to that theory.
yeah, that's amazing. Well, congratulations on that very prestigious title. I definitely am gonna have to catch you live. So the week that I'm going over is the music week, so I'll be there for all the showcases and the awards gala. Do you know what your schedule's like that week? Do you have performances scheduled?
Yeah, so the first thing I'm doing is going to be the Songwriter of the Year concert at the Scott McCauley Center in Summerside. That's on March 6th. Great lineup of songwriters. That's always my favorite show to play. Just getting to see the awards in 2017. I got to go to that concert with my dad and just was really blown away with the talent. And that was before I had any albums out. But I knew I was kind of dabbling in songwriting and started taking it more seriously after that. But so that show on March 6th, and then March 8th, Brooke and I will be performing together at the awards gala at the Convent Center.
Amazing. So definitely gonna catch you once, if not twice. So I'm excited to get over there. But for the rest of 2025, like you're starting off the year at a pretty high note as far as your music career. So do you have aspirations for us the year, or is there already some plans set in stone? Something you can share?
Yeah, the pretty much coming off the heels of the Music PEI, I'm going to be going over to Manchester, England, for the Manchester Folk Festival, and I was lucky enough to be paired up with an artist from over there, Robbie Cavanagh, who has come to PEI. We've written songs together, and we performed at Showcase PEI this fall. And part of that exchange is now I get to go over there and do the same thing and
Cool.
do this folk expo. With him, and we've planned some dates after that as well. So we're going to be doing a bit of a tour together, which I'm really looking forward to. Getting back over. I've been to London before. I've never been to Manchester, so this will be um, a brand new audience, I'm sure, which is going to be a lot of fun. And after that, I'm going to be um, doing a few more shows, traveling with the Merle Haggard tribute, Nova Scotia in particular for 2025. Um, And I've got some more plans. I got a few songs recorded, so there'll be some new music out. I don't know in what form it'll be just yet, but I know this spring I'll definitely have something out. And then yeah, I guess I'm getting married in the summer, so that's the big thing I'm looking forward to then.
Well, another congratulations.
Thanks.
And keep us informed of those dates. Aside from following you along with your releases, I'm actually located in Nova Scotia, so there's a good chunk of my listeners are here as well. So definitely pop me an email with those dates, and I'll share it when the dates come closer up to remind people that they're going to see Merle Haggard tribute.
Definitely.
And is that through Craig Fair as well? Did you say?
No, this one
A
is
different
one
one.
that I created on my own. So it's a
Excellent.
six-piece band. Yeah, I put it together with Peter Can, Nick Donoff, Thomas Webb, Ben Aiken, and Mark Geddes. So a lot of these guys have been touring around with Gordy McKeeman and his Rhythm Boys,
Yeah.
2 Hours Traffic. Um, great musicians that I'm lucky to play with. So yeah, we'll be I guess February 22nd we'll be at I don't know when this comes out, but that'll be the first date of 2025. We're going to be at the Sacred Heart downtown in Sydney,
Cool.
Cape Breton. And then later in the fall, I'll reach out to you because we'll be doing some more stuff then.
Amazing. And if Gordy happens to be floating around the week of music PEI and you see me, I'd like an introduction. I actually knew him when he was like about this tall.
Oh
So
yeah,
like just because he was around here, like I had met him back then, but he wouldn't have any idea who I am. So I'd like to meet him now as an adult.
definitely. Yeah. I'm sure he'll be floating around or dancing around.
Yeah. He was known for dancing even then, so that's
Yeah,
why I actually remember him. So that would be really cool. I'm definitely going to keep an eye out for you when you get over there. But for anyone that's watching this that maybe doesn't have the opportunity to join us in Prince Edward Island, where should they follow you online?
best place, lawrencemaxwell.com, and that has links to all my socials and tour dates and everything like that. So that would be great.
Perfect. And just before we go for the day, I have been doing this with all the artists. I'm kind of putting you guys on the spot a little bit, hopefully not too much so. I'm looking
Okay.
for different places that since I'm going to be spending some time over there this year, I have a couple other trips further down the road, but I'm looking for places that maybe I'm not going to find from my typical tourism recommendations. Maybe some local venues or eateries or just somewhere you think is worth a little bit extra attention while people are traveling through your province.
Well, I'll say with recency bias that this past weekend we took a trip up to the Misa Nordic Spa and it was super relaxing. The food was incredible. It's some of the best food I've ever eaten in my life. Uh, I would, if you ever have, a day, it might not be this trip, but if you're ever coming back and you have some time, I'd recommend going there. Um, I love one of my favorite places. I have a band called the Good Old Boys, and we do like country covers, and we might play 2 or 3 shows a year. We're kind of all busy doing our different things, but it's something we do as like a passion project. And we do a big fun gig at the Sportsman's Club in Charlottetown,
Cool.
and that's this old bar, cheap beer, pool tables, and if you're lucky, there'll be some band playing, and it's just a cool hang. So, yeah, two totally different
Yeah.
vibes.
They're both vibes that I like. I've heard of the venue a couple times from artists. It seems to be. I don't hear about everything consistently happen there, but every once in a while, somebody I follow has been performing there. And the spa I actually did. They had me over last year, so
Nice.
it's a beautiful spot. I definitely, if anybody can afford just to take a day and disappear there, it's absolutely worth it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much again for your time. And maybe a little bit down the road when you have some more updates, we'll have you back on for a full episode.
That sounds great. I appreciate you having me on.
Great. Thanks again. And thanks to everybody that's following along. There's still more of these to come. And thank you for everyone that's been watching all the episodes I had out so far. Okay, see you all later. Bye.